Hey folks, Randy here with Doing Cut and Trim. A lot of you guys know I am all in on battery powered handheld equipment for lawn care. I have the Echo's commercial string trimmer. I've got their battery powered blower. I have the hedge trimmer. Sometime in the next couple of months, I'm going to buy the chainsaw. I'm all in. They work great. Battery powered equipment, as far as power is concerned, is here. It works great. I know folks like to try and act like it's not. It works great. The DSRM, I believe it's 2600, is right up there power wise with a SRM 2620. They're here. Um, there's only two drawbacks that I see. And one of them, honestly, I don't even really think it's that big of a deal. Most people consider battery capacity to be the big drawback for battery powered equipment. I don't feel that way. It's an issue, but it's an overcomable issue. You know, if you have a couple batteries and an inverter in your truck, you can charge the batteries when they're not in use, and you can go through the whole day. I've been using two 5 amp hour batteries and two 2.5 amp hour batteries, and I've been doing 15-20 yards a day, and most days I never have to use the gas powered equipment. I just use the battery powered stuff. So to me, the battery capacity is not an issue. Batteries are kind of expensive, but you know, so's gas. And you know, the battery powered equipment is lighter. It's easier to maneuver. It saves your body and your joints. I get tennis elbow. I used to get tennis elbow all the time. I very rarely get it now, and it's because I'm using lighter equipment. But there's one big drawback that really bothers me about battery powered equipment, and I got to be honest. Pretty much all my experience with battery powered equipment is using Echo's 56 volt line. So I can't speak specifically to other brands because I haven't used them, but I do use Echo's 56 volt line. And to me, there's only one thing that really holds it back, and it doesn't seem like the manufacturer is really interested in solving this problem. And the issue is repairability. Now, one of the big concerns I had about battery powered equipment when we first got into it was like, well, what if it breaks? You know, how are we going to get this fixed? And the answer was like, well, you know, don't worry about it. You know, that's basically like, you know, like the feedback you would get. But you know, after being in business for a couple of years, I've learned how to work on equipment. I haven't taken a piece of equipment to a dealer in years because I can repair it myself. There's lots of little things that are involved in a gas-powered blower or gas-powered trimmer, and I'm able to repair most of them. And so I got curious, and some of you have seen the videos on this channel. I started cracking open the battery-powered equipment that I have to look inside. And the thing I've discovered is there's not a lot going on in there. There's very few parts. You know, a gas-powered blower easily has 150 plus different parts and pieces. The battery powered blower that I got from Echo, I think it might have 15 or 20 parts total. You know, if you've assembled a computer, or you've ever worked on a computer, you know how simple that is. This equipment is basically that easy. It's not like you open it up and things go flying everywhere. They're very simple. It's a circuit board. It's the wires going from the battery to the board. There's some switches. In the case of the blower, there's a fan. That's it. There's nothing to it, which was like, oh, that's awesome. That means these are very easily repairable. There's nothing really wrong. I mean, there's nothing really complicated. You know, especially if you know how to solder, and you know, or even if you don't know how to solder, you can just wrap wires together with wing nuts, and I mean, it will work. And so when I realized that, wow, not only is it lighter, is it easier to maneuver, it's easier to start, but it's infinitely easier to repair. But there's a problem, and that problem is you can't get the parts. Or let me rephrase. you can get the parts, but none of the parts that you actually care about. You can replace the switch. You can replace the trigger that goes to the switch. And that's about it. Like, you can replace the blower tube. But as far as like I'm just using the example of the blower because that's the one I did. You can't replace the circuit board. You can't replace the actual blower itself. So if one of those things break, you just have to buy a new one. And to me, that's not acceptable. I did talk to a product manager at Echo about that, and the answer that I got, honestly, was not satisfying to me. When I asked about being able to repair, they said, well, when you consider how much it would cost to repair, like if the fan broke, how much it would cost to repair, you would just end up having to buy a new one anyway. And I was like, well, I don't believe that. The fan is like this big. It's tiny. I have a hard time believing this is like $100 plus fan. And the guy said, well, if you take into consideration labor costs involved in having somebody repair it for you, then it's not worth it financially. But I fix my own stuff. So that's very frustrating. So, it puts you in a situation where I'm a fan of battery-powered equipment. I like my Echo battery-powered equipment. I intend to keep using it. I'm a fan of the equipment. I am not a fan of this strategy where the components are not available so that repairs can be made. I don't like that at all. So, because it puts me in a situation where basically what's going to end up having to happen, at some point the blower will break. I don't know what part, I don't know how, but at some point the blower will break. It's just the nature of things. And so whatever component breaks, I won't be able to replace. I'm going to have to then go buy a second blower, and then this old blower will then it'll become the parts blower, and I'll just have to hope, like if it's the fan that goes up in the original blower, I'll just have to hope I don't need a new fan because I can't buy it. That's ridiculous. And the whole argument of like, well, financially it's not worth it to repair. That's a ridiculous argument. And I'll tell you why. Home light trimmers and blowers and all their home light junk equipment, you can buy all the parts you need to repair those things. And they're not worth repairing. Ryobi trimmers and blowers, you can buy everything. You can buy the carburetor. You could buy a new engine block if you really wanted to. That would be insane to do, but you can do it. And it should be the right, or it's not a right. It's their equipment. They can do whatever they want. But if you want, in my opinion, if you want broad acceptance of battery-powered equipment and for it to go mainstream, especially in commercial settings, you gotta let us work on our stuff. It's crazy that you can't. And the other issue though, I think with some of the Echo stuff is I don't think some of it was meant for commercial use. The battery powered blower I don't think was meant for commercial use. And honestly, after having messed around with this bad boy, I'm not sure that this was meant for commercial use either. Because if you want to take the blades off to get them sharpened, the process is absolutely insane. I'm not sure if that video is coming out before this or after, but that's what kind of got me fired up in making this video now. But I'm telling you, man, and maybe they already do this. Maybe Ego does this. I don't know. But if a battery-powered equipment manufacturer really wants to set themselves apart, and honestly, get me on board and people like me on board, make sure all the parts to your equipment are readily available so that we can replace them. I'm not taking, especially as easy as these things are to repair, I would never take any of my battery powered equipment to a dealer to fix. And never. They're too easy to work on. Like, hold on. You see this toy? My son loves this toy. All right? These weren't designed to keep lasting. So I keep a couple of these dog guitars in my shop so that when his dog guitar breaks, I can repair it. Okay? That dog guitar is infinitely more complicated than the battery-powered trimmer or blower. And if I can repair the dog toy, then I can definitely repair anything that Echo's bringing out. So let us do it. This is the only thing, in my opinion, this is the only thing holding battery-powered equipment back. It's lighter, it's easier to use, it's easier to maintain, it's just as powerful. You just can't fix them when they break. I'm really annoyed. Oh well, it is what it is. Like I said, it's all great equipment. It works great. I'm happy to have it, happy to use it. Would love to be able to fix it if it broke. That's Randy with Doing Cut and Trim. Have a good one.